Have you ever started a project and then realized as you got to a certain point or part that the part that you were working on was actually much more important than you originally gave thought to? Well, that's kind of the case with today and with today's episode. And as you can see on screen here, it's really focused around that bridge. Now, why is that bridge important? Well, I'll explain in a second. For those that are just discovering my channel or just getting into this series, firstly, I just want to say welcome to Sovereign Gaming in Life Sims, the channel where I build worlds, lots, and also share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. Now, to answer that question about this bridge here, so it really turned out to be a very important piece of infrastructure that informed a lot of things. As you can see, like I've been fidgeting around with it, either making it at ground level, and then I ended up leaving it as an elevated section. And there's a very important reason why. You see, there are ports that I plan on placing in the city region here, or sorry, in the SimCity region. And not just any kind of ports, really. These are actual like port lots that are classified as ports. It came with the Island Paradise expansion packing. You can search it up if you would like to learn more about those types of lots. Now, what makes those lots like special in this case is that you can have houseboats anchor themselves to these ports. And with houseboats, you can actually travel on the waterways down the channel, I suppose, and also like down the river mouth. And that's really why I ended up leaving the bridge elevated, was so that houseboats and any kind of boats really could pass underneath them. Or at least I hope so. This is one of those cases where it would be really handy for me to actually have the editing game function available to me. And again, a reminder, like that function isn't available to me because I went on a shopping spree with the Sims 3 store. You know, hindsight is 2020, right? Anyways, this would have been something I would have tested just to see like what size I would have needed to make that bridge. And because I don't have that luxury to me, I really wanted to raise this bridge as high as I possibly could while making it make sense. And luckily, in this case, it all kinds of makes sense because the land that leads up to the bridge on both sides of the river in this case, like there's quite a bit of land to actually work with. So I can actually have a road ramp up there and it not feel out of place or awkward. It was at this point that I then realized that I hadn't really taken houseboat play into consideration for this world, because we have that industrial port lot, the one that I actually created, located within that downtown island, I suppose. And I've taken a look at it, and there is actually a significant barrier between where you can travel to on there to the rest of the map. And that barrier exists within the highway bridges that I put in for the starter neighborhood and Blue Water Village suburbs. So that was like a really unfortunate mistake, and I gave it some thought off camera, and I really don't think that I want to change the layout. I kind of feel like it's too late in a way. I thought about like maybe having a like elevating the highway bridges and then having them crawl up on the west side of the downtown core. And I do apologize just because I know for a fact that we're not looking at it right now. And then just kind of have it snake its way in through the Asian Square neighborhood. But you know, I gave it thought on that, and then I thought about how it would really integrate with the rest of the Blue Water Village neighborhood, and I really didn't like how that was going to look. I didn't even try it out. I was just like, okay, this is not gonna happen. This isn't gonna work at all. So unfortunately, what that means is that like boats that are parked in the port for the within the downtown core, within that actual port lot, they're gonna kind of be stuck there for a little bit. And by that, I mean, like, there's really only two routes for them to really travel to. They can either go under the main bridge that I have, under the suspension bridge that I have there, and then that's kind of the only area that they have to play in. Whereas, yeah, the other lots are Whereas another route actually is either behind the mountains, like just scraping by that off-screen grid there. Hopefully there's enough room, or even if they could travel up the side there for that's just like right up against the rails. I might actually go back and redo that part and, you know, try to give more room in the water to actually make it a proper channel that houseboats can actually travel up to, because I think that water play is actually certainly something that players have enjoyed. I know that there is quite a bit of a player base out there that really vouches for Island Paradise. Personally, I never really got into it, but I thought that the features it offered were actually quite amazing. And so yeah, I kind of didn't think that went through there, just because the highway bridges that connect the downtown starter neighborhood to Blue Water Village, they're just way too low. There's no way to actually pass them, and that's really unfortunate that I didn't have the foresight then. But I have the foresight now, which is why this bridge connecting from Blue Water Village to the rest of the land that I have yet to name, I will come up with a name for that one there. So I just need to figure out what I want to actually call it. And yeah, so connecting to the rest of the land, I made sure to put it at the highest height possible without it distorting the ground level and all of that. So that was a big reason why, because I do want houseboats and boats in general to actually travel up the river, and you guys will know why in just a minute. And before I get into that, there is some more streetlight placing, which is everybody's favorite. I know I'm really sick of placing streetlights at this point, but the really good news here is just that this will be nearly the last set of streetlights that I'll place for the rest of the world. I'm just trying to think here if I have any others, and I'm pretty sure that I don't, because I do want this highway to really function as that rural highway or that national road kind of feeling. And there aren't streetlights on those, but I did want streetlights for it leading up to the bridge and just as it hugs along the Blue Water Village suburb neighborhood there. So streetlights are going on there and up until the bridge, but after that you better have your headlights working, because there are no streetlights, just like real highways and all that. So that was kind of the idea there. And the reason again why I decided to do that is just with the streetlights. I wanted to have like a dense amount of streetlights within the downtown core, so it feels very bright and up and lit up there, and then it just kind of tapers down as you get closer to the outskirts of the city. So that's really the idea there. And then I wanted the rural areas to be completely dark. I mean, you can see stars better, I guess, but light pollution isn't a thing in this game, so that's not really something I needed to consider, but something that I did anyways, just as an element of storytelling. Like, you'll be able to see the lights the stars outside of the city as opposed to inside the city kind of thing. Anyways, so I actually decided to expand the mouth of the river, and I really wanted to make the ocean a lot more predominant in this world. One thing that I've noticed, and this comes with like creating worlds in the past, like working with like The Sims 3 create a world in the past, and also working with other map makers. I used to edit maps for Battle for Middle-earth, so that was another game released by EA back in the 2000s and all that. Now my maps sucked. I would be bright to try to find an example of one of those, but one thing that I noticed very much with map making is that for me, I need to save the water for last, or I need to incorporate the water at a point of no return, like something that I need to commit to. Because the thing with water in map editors and all that I find is that it's very permanent, and it's very not permanent because it's a program, but for me it feels very permanent. It feels like I have to redo a lot of work if I wanted to reclaim any kind of land from the ocean or from any kind of water bodies. And so at this point, like, I was really willing to commit to a much larger ocean space. And so, yeah, I decided to widen up that river and also to open up the ocean a lot more, because I really wanted more ocean play to begin with. But I also knew that at this point, there wasn't really a whole lot left in terms of developing the land. So I could just go for it and open up that ocean, and then I wouldn't be needing to struggle to try to reclaim land. It's one of those mechanics in map editing that I just find I need to at least like scrape out the shape that I'm looking at before actually adding in the water. But in Create a World, it just adds in the water automatically unless you want to adjust the seed levels and stuff. And I did that at the beginning, and I'm not gonna redo work that I've already done. So yeah, that's really my thought process there, and what I feel is a proper order of operations. Speaking of which, like the order of operations that I operate in are trying to help me not have to redo a lot of work. So that's why I choose to like do water and geography last where I can. I mean, this is an example where I do the reverse because it makes more sense to do so, since I'm letting the geography actually inform where I place things, since I don't have to place lots as densely as I did with the downtown core island and all that. Moving up the river, we actually, like, there is something special I want to do with that, and you're seeing it on screen. Like, I'm adding in a lot more mountains and stuff. And the thing is that I carve out a little plateau within a mountain range. It looks kind of circular, and it's gonna look better as the series goes on, because once you add in trees and stuff, and actually paint it, it actually looks nice. But the reason why I'm adding in this little plateau here is because I am going to do an interpretation of Magic Town. And with Magic Town, which was a town that was available to us in The Sims 1 Making Magic, it's going to have a bit of a different story to it, but it is going to be an interpretation of it, like where it stands today and all that. And there will be more lore little bits and pieces that I'm adding on, and that you guys will be able to get to see when I actually create the lots. But the reason why the river is so important and having access to actually travel up the river will be so important is because there's a little certain magical secret spot that I wanted to add into the game, just to at least allow players that enjoy playing with the cults and all that to just kind of enjoy themselves. And no, it's not going to be a supernatural hangout. It will actually be the Fairy Arboretum. I think that's how you pronounce it. You know what, honestly, I just gotta log into dictionary.com and get them to pronounce it for me. But it's the fairy place that I'm going to be placing. It's going to be nestled like deep in the mountains. It's going to be another 64 by 64 lots. So there's a lot of opportunity to like just go ham and just decorate the living smack out of it with fairy core stuff and all that jazz. And I'm not such a fairy core player myself, but I absolutely respect the style, and I would give it a shot with that lot. But yeah, I want it to be very hard to access. Like, you can only access it either by taking a boat up the river or taking a hot air balloon, which is one of the features that will be playing throughout. And it also makes sense to have that hot air balloon as a transportation option, because in The Sims 1 Making Magic, that was the way to send your entire household over into Magic Town. And so yeah, that's kind of making a return, just kind of paying tribute to that last expansion pack of The Sims 1. And this area is very much going to pay tribute to that, as well as offer some real rural, like, farm life living options too. So you can have that farmhouse. You just have to go outside of the city. And I do actually end up adding in quite a few different opportunities there to actually build a farm. So don't worry, there are lots of more lots on the way. And yeah, and actually to like access the river and stuff, just to complete a thought from earlier, you know how I was complaining about myself, I guess, about not giving access under the suburban bridges there. Well, there's going to be another marina, and that's going to be on this side of the map as well, and that's going to hang out towards the north there, and I'll explain more on that marina idea when we get closer to it. But yeah, there's definitely going to be another port, maybe even another one after that, but I don't really know at this point if I will or if I won't. Back to what you're seeing on screen, I am going to put the Fairy Arboretum. Yes, I did finally search it up on dictionary.com in between audio recordings there. I'm going to put the Fairy Arboretum just nestled in those mountains there. Now, like, I don't want to like I don't want to give you guys like any hope that I have the skill to actually do this, but if I could actually do a waterfall properly, this would be the place where I would put it. right? It makes sense. You have a bunch of fairies hanging around and then a waterfall in the background. Everybody would love that, but I just don't have the skill for it. I don't have the... I'm gonna look up a guide for it for the Sims 3 Creator World, see how other people have been doing it. But again, my problem is just that I'm not able to actually access the world in the editing game mode, so I can't actually test it to see how it's going to translate into the game, if you know what I mean. And I'd rather hold off from adding in a feature that I'm not too sure I can pull off until it's too late, because the problem with exporting your Sims 3 worlds from the Creator World is that if you have to go back and edit your world in the Creator World system, then you have to save it as a completely different file, and then half the time the game still reads your Creator World file as the old one, which is really annoying. Like, I've had to restart worlds completely because of that, so I'm not doing that. And yeah, so yeah, the idea with Magic Town and really interpreting it in this case for SimCity is just that I want to have some elements of it that share certain elements with Old Town. I feel like The Sims 1 Unleashed, and you'll see this in my tier reviews of the Sims 1 franchise, that Unleashed and Make and Magic go hand in hand in a lot of ways in terms of like the lore and just the look and feel of it. And so I really wanted to carry that on through here. Now, don't get me wrong, there likely won't be any kind of like crazy stuff with Magic Town. In fact, like the parts of Magic Town that I am actually going to reintroduce here is more so stuff that takes from the circus themed things. And yes, that is right. The World of Wonder, if I remember correctly, lot from the Sims 3 store will certainly be making an appearance here, and I'm going to adjust it so that it's a live venue so that Showtime careers can actually happen there, which would make the most sense. And part of that fantasy is really that players can have an acrobat that kind of lives in the area. And yes, there's going to be some living spaces nearby too that just goes to their local circus and performs as an acrobat there, or a magician. So yeah, that's really the idea here, is just really changing up that look and feel within the SimCity region itself by adding in this whole Magic Town interpretation. And you know, just to stay true to it and all that, it's going to have a whole different terrain texture to it. I plan on putting in a lot of trees that resemble the autumn season and the fall season, and by the time this releases, we'll be well into the autumn season here, so it'll feel very on brand when I actually start adding in the trees, which won't be for a couple of more episodes yet. But yeah, I plan to add in some autumn trees into it just to really make it more autumn-like. And then I'll also explain within the lore of the lots that it's really the fairy arboretum that really has a certain magical quality about it that just makes the trees think it's autumn all the time. So yeah, more to come. I'm so excited to actually share that with you guys, because I've been kind of sitting on that idea for a little bit, but now that we're actually here, I'm more than happy to share it with you. And normally, like, if I could hide it, I would have left it as some sort of a surprise for players to discover when they actually download the world. But, you know, the fairy arboretum icon pops up, and when you have something popping up in the middle of a mountain range, players are definitely going to investigate it. So it's not like it's going to be a huge secret or anything like that when the time comes, which is funny. But yeah, this is definitely a departure from all of the urban style that we have been playing with, and so this area is really going to be a proper tribute to the Make and Magic world, and to the way that EA and Maxis really ended off the first franchise. With all that said, that's gonna about do it for this episode here. I'm just gonna finalize this episode by finishing the other side of the bridge. I just wanted the bridge done, the land to be shaped around the bridge, since I now have to create infrastructure based on the geography as opposed to the other way around that I've been doing this whole time. And yeah, that's kind of really it for the episode here. We're going to continue working on the other side of the bridge with just adding in more details and actually doing some terrain painting here and there. So I'm really looking forward for this next area to come together. So yeah, I am very excited for that, to experience that with you guys there. And And yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode, and if you've been enjoying this SimCity Create a World Sims 3 series, which is a mouthful to say all on its own, feel free to like this video and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. I just want to thank you again for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Oh, and stick around for the tours. Okay, have yourselves a good day there.